Hello student, I once again welcome you in this virtual platforms. In earlier video, we have already started a lessons, and that lesson is built on the personality of the Naidu. We saw that how the Naidu was mischievous persons, mischievous boys in his childhood. He was not punctuate in his school and in his home. He just make mischievous things in his school and home. But when he saw a motorcycle passing by his village, he got inspiration from that. He wanted to know the working of that motorcycles, and in order to fulfill his passion for the technology, he left his village and came to Coimbatore. In Coimbatore, he took a job of waiters in hotels and tried to save some money. Meantime, he also searched the location of the owner of that motorcyclist, who was the surveyor. And when he saved 400 rupees, he went to the home of that motorcyclist and offer all his money and put all his money at his feet and explain his story, that how he come here and why he wants his motorcycle. Impressed by his story, the surveyor and the owner of that motorcycle offer him his own motorcycles. In this video, we will see the remaining part of these lessons. Now see, Naidu was ecstatic. That means when he got that motorcycles, he become very happy. The word ecstatic express that he was very happy. The happiness was in high peak. Here was the price he had long sought. In his free time, he rode his motorcycle as far as possible and he tried to understand the mechanic of it all. So after getting that motorcycles, he sometimes rides that motorcycles and sometimes try to understand the mechanism, how it's work. He began taking the bike apart piece by piece and then refitting the equipment. So in order to learn the working of motorcycles, he used to unbound that motorcycles. He used to take some parts apart and then refit that parts. It was like a puzzle that he was slowly able to decipher and put together. He became familiar with how the engines operate and how the brake operate, and over the time was able to put his understanding to good use, procuring a job as a mechanic. So when he understood the mechanism of that bike, because most of times he is unbound that bikes and used to separate the pieces of that bikes and then refitting it. When he understood the mechanism of that bike, he abandoned the job of waiters and tried to seek the job of mechanic, and he also got a job of mechanic. It was an opportunity that offered him a lot of times with the gadget and electronic and vehicles. As a mechanic, he could comprehensively understand how things operate and then eventually take that knowledge and invent. So, after getting the job of mechanics, he got another opportunity to understand the mechanism of the vehicles. He got the opportunity to understand the various gadgets that are fitted in the vehicles and how it works. He utilized that opportunity and he tried to get the knowledge. In 1920, Naidu expanded his origins and set up his own transport business. So he didn't stop at one place. He didn't stop at one business. And later on, the next steps he took, and that step is in 1922, Naidu expand his origin. Expand means to make enlarge his origins, and origins means क्षितिज आपण मराठीत ज्याला आपण म्हणतो origin, and set up his own transport business. He also dabbled in the cotton business, and the income he earned from the business helped support him. So step by step he expand his business, and first of all he came into the business of transport, and then he started the business of cottons, where he also got the income, profitable incomes. He purchased an automobile coach and took to driving it between the Pollachi and the Palani cities within the Tamil Nadu. Then he see, and in next steps he purchased automobile coach that he used to drive it from one city to another city to carry the passengers. It was a more popular form of transport by the car and for more efficient. Over the time, his transport business expanded, and the UMS, that means Universal Motor Service, owned the most efficient fleet of public transport vehicle in the country. So, step by step, he expanded his business, and then he established the Universal Motor Service, and that became the most popular in our India. The number of the buses he owned at the time was nearly 600. Look at the numbers. How much buses he owns at that time? 600. It is not a joke. A man who abandoned the home, a man who worked as a waiter, owned 600 vehicle and 600 buses of its own. It was an astonishing amount for a boy who had run away from a village and pursued a motorcyclist. Indeed, it's astonishing amount. The man who just abandoned, he just left his village to pursue his passions. Living comfortably, living comfortably and building a reputation for himself, Naidu began traveling. His passion for technology extended to camera and films, and in 1935 he filmed the funeral of the King George in London. So, another things he had done, that means in he tried to make some inventions in camera and films, and in 1935 he filmed a funeral of King George in London. A year later he personally met with Hitler. Do you know the Adolf Hitler? Yes, most of people know the Adolf Hitler, the famous man, the famous person in Germany, ज्याला आपण हुकुमशहा म्हणतो. Was able to secure manufacturing contact that would later help him to develop the manufacturing razors, and he then then he formed a contact with Hitler's, and with uh, the help of him, and he developed the razor. When he returned to India, he tried his hand at politics but lost the 1936 provincials. So later on, he also tried his hand in politics, but he didn't get the success. And in 1936 provincial general elections, and he lost his first elections. Still, he was enjoying a period of comforts and luxury. He was gifted a Rolls-Royce car, making him one of the very few and elite Indians who possess such a statement of wealth. Though he lost his elections, he didn't lost his comforts and luxury, his wealth. At that time, he got the Rolls-Royce car. This is the expensive car, one of the most expensive cars in world, and that shows his wealth. In his mid 40s, Naidu took to inventing. He collaborated with D. Balasundaram to create India's first indigenous motor, and mid times he collaborated with Balasundaram to create the first India's motors. Here another things he tried to do in his service in his lifetime. A company within Naidu's UMC group called National Electric Works made the motors in 1937. So, with the help of Balasundaram, he formed a company that manufactures motors in 1937. It was huge success in India. Both Naidu and Balasundaram enjoyed a steady flow of income. Balasundaram founded the Textile and Lakshmi Machines Work (LMW), a firm that would grow to become one of the India's largest textile machineries and CNC manufacturer. So later on, these firms comes to an existence, but Naidu did not stop at the motors. He continued to invent, creating an electric razors that was manufactured in Germany, a tamper-proof note recording machines, and a kerosene-run fan. See, after manufacturing electric motors, he didn't stop at the motors. Then he start to create electric razors, also a tamper-proof note recording machines and kerosene-run fans. These are inventions he made. In 1941, Naidu claimed he could manufacture 5 watts radio and sell them at only 70 rupee per set. He also began focusing on camera equipments and was fascinated by the ability to take the photograph. He created distance adjuster for the film cameras. So these are the some inventions he made in his lifetimes. He didn't stop for one work. He start inventing various things. Later on, what happens? But his inventions was not restricted to technology alone. So leaving apart the technology, what he did next, let's see. His time in cotton business had piqued his interest in agriculture. Now he was focusing his attentions in agriculture. When he started business of cotton, that cotton business piqued his interest, means stimulate his interest. Pique means stimulations. Stimulate his interest in agriculture, and he spent considerable time researching and identifying new forms and varieties of cotton, maize, papaya, and number of things. The firm he believed on prospers and was a source of curiosity for many, and he apparently had the elite building built within 8 hours. Sir C.V. Raman's, the Nobel Prize winning Indian physicist, and Moksha Gundam's Vishveswaryam, the Diwan of Mysore between 1912 and 1980, visited Naidu's farm several times and were impressed by his work and his dedications and passion for inventions. So these prominent personality visited his farms because he undertake various inventions in farm also. He developed various variety of cottons and maize, and in order to see that variety, the number of persons, among them C.V. Ramans, also comes to also comes to visit that farm. I think we have to stop here. The remaining part will be discussed in the next video. Thank you.